you joined us for story time today. I'm Mrs. T, and this is Goldie the Goose. She's wearing a special outfit for our story today. Can you tell what she's trying to be? Let's see, what do we see? We see she's gray on her body, and she's got a little bit of gray up here. I bet our story will tell us. Let's see. Our story today is The Ugly Duckling by Hans Christian Andersen. You can see in the front there's 2 yellow ducks and there's 1 what looks like a gray duckling. Does that look like Goldie? Kind of does. Let's read our story. All right. One sunny summer day, a mother duck built her nest among the reeds near the moat of an old castle. There she laid her eggs, and there she sat, keeping them warm day after day. Finally, the eggs began to crack. Peep, peep. Out popped each fuzzy little duckling's head, one after another. Mother duck nuzzled each of her babies. Welcome, she quacked. Then she noticed that one last egg, the biggest one of all, had not hatched yet. Oh dear, she said, sitting down again. I wonder how much longer this one will take. How much more time do you think it'll take? Do you think it'll take 1 day or 3 days? Is it 1 or 3? Let's see. Oh, finally, a long time later, the biggest egg began to crack. It did not tell us how long, just says a long time. Honk, honk, said the duckling, tumbling out. He was much bigger and scruffier than the other ducklings. He's not as pretty as my other babies, Mother Duck said to herself, but I'll look after him just the same. The next morning, Mother Duck took all her babies, including the big ugly one, to the moat for their first swimming lesson. The moat is right here. That's where the water is that goes around the castle. They all followed her into the water, splish, splosh, splash, one by one. They all swam beautifully, and the big ugly duckling swam best of all. I bet because he was bigger, it gave him stronger muscles so that he could swim better. All right, let's see. The other ducks came to watch. There's 1, 2, 3 other ducks. Who's that scruffy creature? Squawked one. He's my youngest duckling, said Mother Duck. See how well he swims? But he's so big and so ugly, quacked the other ducks, laughing. While his brothers and sisters swam along, the little ugly duckling paddled into the reeds and tried to hide. Oh, how do you think he was feeling when he was trying to hide? Like somebody said unkind things about him, and then he kind of went away on his own. I don't think he was feeling very good. Oh, but look who comes to see how he's doing. Mother Duck came over to him. Don't worry about those silly ducks, she told him. I'll take you to the barnyard this afternoon. I'm sure the animals there will be kinder. Oh, that's so nice of Mama Duck to try and help him feel better and maybe try to help him find some other friends. Sometimes certain people are not a good fit as friends, and it's important to try and find maybe other people who would be more kind. Let's see how the barnyard goes. But she was wrong. Oh man. As the barnyard animals saw the ugly duckling, they began to laugh and shout. Most of your ducklings are lovely, clucked the hen, but look at that big, scruffy, ugly one. He's nothing like the others. He's too ugly for this barnyard, cackled the goose. The pig snorted and said, why, he's the ugliest duckling I've ever seen. The little ugly duckling ran away and hung his head in shame. Oh, he felt very bad. You could even see a little bit on the picture right here. His cheeks are kind of red, like he's embarrassed. It was not very kind of them. If you can't say anything nice, you just shouldn't say anything at all. All right, let's look and see. The same thing happened the next day and the day after that. The ducks on the moat and the animals in the barnyard all teased the ugly duckling and chased him and called him names. Even his own brothers and sisters made fun of him and tried to peck him when they went swimming. The ugly duckling had no friends at all. It's important to remember that just because everyone is doing it doesn't mean that it's okay or it's kind. I think his brothers and sisters kind of fell into that. They saw everybody else being unkind, and then they decided to be unkind. It doesn't make it right just because everybody's doing it. We have to be kind to others, right? You know that. You're very smart. Let's go back to our story. The ugly duckling was so sad and lonely that he decided to run away out into the big wide world. Early one morning, before everyone else was awake, he ran away through the reeds, past the moat and the barnyard and the castle walls until he came to the marsh. Ooh, it's important for us to remember that this is a book and it's not real life, and running away is never the answer. It does not solve the problem. Okay, so just remember, this is a story about an ugly duckling, and it's not a story about a little person, right? It's not about people. And so is running away the answer? No, running away is not the answer. This is just a story. Let's see what happens. There he saw a flock of wild ducks dabbling in the water. "What kind of bird are you?" they asked. "I'm a duckling," the ugly duckling replied. "No, you're not," said the biggest duck. "You're much too ugly. We don't want to have anything to do with you." And they turned away, leaving him alone. The ugly duckling spent 2 lonely days on the marsh, far away from the other ducks. Then, on the 3rd day, a group of hunters came, scaring all the ducks away. Take a look, you can see the hunters right here. What are they doing? What do hunters do? Oh, you're right, they hunt animals. And if they're at the marsh, they're probably hunting ducks. Oh, but look really quick before I turn the page. You can see the duckling is slipping away right down here in the reeds. Very safe. All right, I'd be frightened too. The frightened ugly duckling ran across the marsh and over fields and meadows. When he saw a cottage, which is a small house, at the edge of the woods, he flew down and crawled in through a window, curled up in the corner of the kitchen, and fell fast asleep. An old woman living in the cottage was there with her cat and her hen. The next morning, the cat and the hen found the ugly duckling. You can see the cat right here. It's an orange cat with stripes. And you can see the hen right here. She's kind of a red hen. "Can you lay eggs?" clucked the hen. "No," said the ugly duckling. "Can you catch mice?" meowed the cat. "No," said the ugly duckling. "Then you're useless," said the cat. "And you're very ugly," added the hen. "You better get out of here before I scratch you," hissed the cat. Oh man, are they being kind? Oh, they are not being kind either. Oh golly, when is the ugly duckling gonna find some kindness? I do remember his mama was very kind to him in the beginning. Let's see if he can find some other animals that will be kind. So once again, the ugly duckling ran away out into the big wide world. The ugly duckling wandered far and wide until he came to a lake where he could swim and find food. There were other ducks there, but when they saw how ugly he was, they kept far away from him. The ugly duckling stayed on the lake all summer. Then fall came and the weather began to grow cold. Oh, I can tell that it's fall because you can look at the trees and you can see that the leaves are turning an orange color. There's a little bit of yellow in there. Okay. All the other ducks began to fly south where the weather was warmer. The ugly duckling shivered by himself in the tall grass beside the lake. You can see right here that these ducks are starting to fly away. Have you seen that when it starts to get cold outside? You see the ducks or the birds flying in lines in the sky? And the lines even look like this, just like this on this page. All right, one evening just before sunset, the ugly duckling looked up and saw a flock of big, beautiful birds above him. Their white feathers gleamed in the rosy gold sunlight, and they had long, graceful necks. They were flying south, just like the ducks. The ugly duckling flapped his stubby wings and stretched his neck to watch them for as long as he could. They were so beautiful he felt like crying. I wish I could go with them, he thought, but they would never even look at someone as ugly as I am. Oh, that make your heart so sad. Can you stretch your neck just like this? Oh, stretch your neck up just like those birds that he was looking at. Sometimes it feels good to stretch our bodies and wiggle just a second. Okay, let's get back to our story. Fall turned to winter and the lake froze solid. The ugly duckling couldn't swim any longer. His feathers were caked with ice and snow, and he couldn't find any food. Oh, I bet that did not feel good. I bet he was very cold and very hungry. Luckily, a farmer found the ugly duckling and brought him home to his family. The farmer's wife warmed the ugly duckling up by the stove, and the farmer's children tried to play with him. But they were loud and rough, and the ugly duckling was frightened. He flapped his wings and knocked over a milk pail. You can see that right here. The children screamed and laughed and tried to catch the ugly duckling, which only frightened him more. The ugly duckling flew across the kitchen right into the flour bin. The farmer's wife chased him out of the house and into the yard where he hid among some bushes. Somehow, the ugly duckling found his way to a swamp, and there he managed to live for the rest of the long, hard winter. At last, spring came, bringing bright, warm sunshine. The ugly duckling spread his wings. You can see him spreading his wings right here. And was amazed to find that they were big and strong. He flew up into the air and across the fields to a canal, which is a bit of water. There, swimming among the glassy water, he saw the beautiful birds he had seen last autumn. I better hide, he thought. If they see me, they will chase me and call me names like all the others have. But when the birds saw him, they swam over to meet him. Hello, they said. Oh, but he found somebody that will show him a little bit of kindness. They're going to include him maybe. Let's see. The ugly duckling looked around. He couldn't believe they were talking to him. We are swans, explained one of the birds, and so are you. You are a very fine young swan indeed. The ugly duckling looked down at his reflection in the water. Right there you can see him looking down, kind of like a mirror. It was true. A handsome swan looked back at him. The other swans made a circle around him and nuzzled him with their beaks. Welcome, they said. We would be happy to have you in our flock. They're including him. Oh, imagine what his heart must feel like now. The young swan thought his heart would burst with happiness. I never dreamed I could be so happy, he thought, when I was a little ugly duckling. And looking around at his new friends, he knew that he would be happy forever. You can see right there, him with his swan friends. The end. Thank you so much for joining me for story time today. Let's think about a few things. How do you think the ugly duckling felt in the beginning of the story when everybody, except for his mama, was not being kind to him? I bet his heart felt so very sad. They did not include him. They were rude and they called him names. That is not a very kind way to be. But in the very, very end of the book, remember at the very end, he met some swans who were like him. Did they include him? Yeah. Were they kind to him? Yes, they used kind words and kind actions. It's so important that we use kind words and kind actions with other people, and that we include other people in a kind way. What are some ways that you have been included in a kind way by others? What's a way that you have included someone else by being kind? These are really good questions that this story brought up for us. We can learn a lot from our stories. Thank you so much for joining me and Goldie today. As you can see, she was dressed as the ugly duckling. Is that what you guessed? You are so smart. I can't wait until we have story time again. We'll see you next time.